Welcome to part 2 of this week's photo critique. Just a quick recap. The source of the images this week is from the Digital Photo Rec group, but it is those that people took a few moments to paste a link to on a Facebook comment that I put up last weekend. If you don't see your image critiqued in this second group, you didn't carefully follow the directions and you just grabbed an image out of your page somewhere. And there's enough that we had to chop it down and say just the people that carefully followed the directions are getting critiqued. And we're starting off right now with Jeremy LaRue. And I saw this a while ago. It caught my eye. Christina, did it catch your eye?
Yes.
Why?
Because we were here, I think, on our California trip. Is this Shark Fin Cove?
Jeremy, I think it is. Let us know. And one of the things I think is cool is that just to the right, if we're thinking about the right place, is this crazy, beautiful kind of beachy cove, big rock, nice water. Maybe I'll throw up one of my pictures from there. But you took this picture and submitted this picture of these old railroad tracks right here. It looks a little bit greener than when we were there.
Yes.
I think this is a nice photo. It's that fairly common to take pictures of railroad tracks and you kind of get that infinity down in the distance. What isn't happening for me here, or what is detracting from the image a little bit, is a lot of space off to the right that I think isn't really adding anything to this image. We've kind of got the track centered right here and then all of that space over there to the right. I think it would be worthwhile to go ahead and walk forward 100 yards and or zoom in a little bit. Let's check metadata and see what kind of focal length you are, but I think you're going to be pretty wide, yeah. We are shooting with a very wide lens.
I don't think he should have zoomed in.
No?
No.
Okay.
I
Can I finish what I
sure.
I think you should have shot down between these valleys or this kind of low area in front and really captured that. Christina's shaking her head no. Go ahead and give your opinion.
No. So was this submitted after we did the last critique or before?
It was submitted before. It's been up there for a while.
The reason I ask is because I did give that little homework assignment about symmetry, and this looks, like exactly what I was referring to. When you find a place that's kind of rough to photograph, I think these hills, when you're in this place, they're pretty awesome to see, but they're kind of difficult to capture. And I think that from this angle and the, where he was standing, the height, I think this image is really awesome. I do think there's a little bit of dead space on the lower right corner, but it doesn't really bother me, I think, and I don't think he should zoom in at all because the wide angle just really gives this a little bit more expansiveness, and I don't know, I think it's great. I don't think there's anything that should be changed about it, not even those light poles on the top left. I really, really like this picture. This is it was kind of like organized chaos. A little bit. I like it a lot. Yeah.
Okay, nice. Okay, I will compromise and say that just moving forward just a little bit and getting rid of this, because I do, sometimes when I'm looking at this, I like this windy road as kind of a complement to the symmetry of the straight railroad tracks there. The only other thing I would add is that you could go up a little bit higher with your aperture and down a little bit with your shutter speed and maybe have just even a little bit more sharpness. But at this width and f6.3, I bet if we threw that in the calculator, you'd probably have infinity focus, so it doesn't really matter. Thanks so much, Jeremy. Nice photo. All right, from Aaron, Drama.
This is a really great image. I really like the subtle chiaroscuro effect, of the
Say that again?
Chiaroscuro. It's like the transition from light to dark. It's just really, I don't know, I think it's really pretty. It's a very moody image. It's almost kind of a sad image because the roses are a little bit wilty and dry. But I like it. I like it a lot. I would say watch cutting out the roses. I feel like I wish you hadn't cut out the right part and the left part of those two roses. But I like the color. I think that the monochromatic sort of colors work really well in this image. And there's a straight line underneath the rose on the left side that's a little distracting. So I would watch for that. I might just burn that whole area to be completely dark if possible. Just to keep the attention on the detail of the flowers. But other than that, really cool light. Well done.
Nice, I agree. Just avoid chopping off just that little bit there, but the texture here is great. Just like to point out, this was taken with a kit lens and the T4i, and it's just a really nice image. Thank you, Erin.
Distance to get that depth of field.
Yes.
They have to be close enough.
That's right. That's right. All right. Moving on. Submitted to a lot of groups. Fog. I think we're kind of alternating here like we did the other night, so I'll start talking about this. I like this image a lot. Now, I think probably some of you are looking at it and think, oh, come on, aren't you going to complain about this huge negative space up here? Well, they used the rule of thirds, and I think it nicely balances this field down here. And you think about the alternative of splitting it, horizon, right in the middle, and that would be boring. It would be just split. Or saying, well, this is almost completely blown out, no detail, why not capture the field? That dark is really heavy, and it would just, the deer then would be lost in this long dark leading up to them. I really think this is a cool image. I'd like to know what kind of time of day it was taken. What do we got here? ISO 3200, fairly bright conditions, I'm going to assume, 1/500th of a second. Not direct sunlight. Well, we should assume there was some fog, as we see in the background. Overall, I think this is a really nice image. I don't think I have anything to say about it. Negative. I like it. Christina, do you want to add anything?
Not really. It feels a little washed out in the processing. I'm not crazy about that. But in terms of the composition and the scene, I really like the way that it was done. I really love the deer. I feel like my eye pretty much stays there, and you know, it is a really nice image.
Yep, it could be a little more contrasty, I think. But
yeah, I feel like that works because it's foggy and you're trying to show that. So
that's what I think too. Thank you, and photography. Winding Down from Jake CPU Nut.
I'm trying to figure out. So this looks like it's an image. It's almost like a product image. So you're trying to tell a story about the wine that helps you wind down.
You got a nice layering of depth of field here with this.
There is very nice layering of depth of field, yeah. I think this picture is great. The exposure and doesn't seem like there was much processing. Seems like straight out of camera almost, but maybe I'm wrong. I wish there was a little bit more room over here and down here just to balance this whole frame out a little bit more. Just, you know,
would you say
give this a little bit more room to breathe.
Mm-hmm. And would you say to capture all of the reflection of the text in the glass, or just a little more?
I don't know. Okay. You just love reflections. I don't think it's necessary really to make this a strong image. I think it might even be distracting, but I mean, yeah, it could be cool. I don't think that. I personally am not a huge fan of reflections, so I mean, I don't.
So you don't need it.
I don't need it.
Okay, but just a little more breathing room.
Yes.
Yep. Okay. I might wonder if it would be a little stronger if it was composed in such a way that this bottle wasn't intersecting that bottle in the background. Move that other bottle back just enough so that it's a little bit smaller, and also pull back a little bit to give it a little bit more room. I'd be interested to see what a picture looks like of that. But folks, this is a great way to practice all kinds of photography. But just find a couple little random things around your house, put them together on a table, and take some pictures of them. It's what I used in my kind of explaining depth of field and aperture videos, and it just works very nicely. Overall, I think this is a nice image. Thank you, Jake. I think this is a really nice image. Let's see, you've got your metadata up there. 1 second shutter speed. Just really nicely composed with that little bit of space on both ends of this building. Neat building. I want to look up this building and see more about it. Colors are great. You know, you could try a slightly longer shutter speed, which would soften the water and give those reflections even more of a dreamy. You can go up to F11 and then, you know, get a few more seconds in there. But really, that's my only comment. I really think this is a nice, strong image, and it is not your standard size. Maybe 16 by 9, or that size that you love, Christina, 21 by 9. It's great. Perfect.
I feel like it's already been cropped a little bit. It feels a bit whiter than most the aspect ratio.
Well, that's what I was saying. If it's 21:9, they must have cropped that.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay. I don't really have anything to add.
Okay, great.
I think it's great.
Nice shot. Thanks for sharing. Windy Day from Christina.
This is interesting. Where was this taken? Was this taken in California?
Mount
Or
Wanda.
Mount Wanda. I want to know where that is. I think this portrait is great. I think the composition is really awesome. This boy's really happy, and you definitely capture that. Great moment. He's nicely composed in the background where there's not much intersecting with him in a way that's distracting, and you can see just the very soft rolling hills, which are beautiful in the background. I think if I were to make any modifications to it would be, oh yeah, it's in California, Martinez. I might go into Photoshop, and this is kind of an advanced sort of color correcting technique, but I would try to tone down this red. This reflection of this blanket is really coloring his face a little bit of a weird kind of pink reddish color, and it's a really, really kind of nitpicky thing, but yeah, I would go in and tone that down a little bit, and maybe we can do a tutorial on that.
That would be great. Leave a comment down below if you'd like Christina to give us a tutorial on correcting skin colors in Lightroom or Photoshop.
Now.
Maybe, what might help is to go over and give her a Facebook page. I'll put a link to that right down below, a like as well. Little things. I'm not going to really add anything other than I love there's a little bit of motion, the shutter speed, so we get a little bit of the motion of the flap of the blanket here is great. Maybe could have come up and framed him behind this greener hill so that your perspective was just a little bit higher, but his eyes on level with the camera work out really nicely. So that's just a suggestion I might try, but I think it's a strong image. Nice, thank you. We got one from Amit, just the two of us, and I'm pretty sure he is referring to these two red tulips right here, poppies. These are actually poppies, aren't they? Right here in the front. This looks like a beautiful spot. Nice. Wow, f/22?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Oh, interesting. And 18 to 135, 1/50th of a second. Okay. I'm confused why you chose f/22, and I think this could have been a stronger image if you had opened up to a wider aperture. Because what happens here is that these two poppies right in the front are lost a little bit in the sea of red. So there's two things that I think you could do here to make this a stronger image, and you could do them both together or one or the other. One was, as I said, shoot at a wider aperture. Gosh, man, at 35, I'd shoot at f4, f5, and I think you're going to get some really nice, you're going to get the carpet of red in the background that's going to be really nice and softly out of focus. Or you could get lower in your perspective to bring these two up, because they do look a little bit higher than everything surrounding them. Get them up above the horizon line so they're kind of floating up in that space, and then below them is this sea of red. But really neat place. I hope you have an opportunity to return here and take some more pictures, because this is a fun kind of photographic area. Photogenic. That sounds great. A little hot too. I think the exposure here could be, well, red is tough, and Canon does particularly tough with red. So we're seeing just a little bit of more of a Canon red magenta color over here. So a little post-processing is often needed to get reds to be more true reds when you're shooting with a Canon camera.
Yep. So, okay, so you gave some suggestions about how to come back and approach this photo differently, and I have some slightly different suggestions. So my first approach would be, if you're going to go f/22, the f/22 route, do not try to isolate anything. First, we have these, or because these, you're so close and at level with these flowers, you're getting a lot of distracting elements, and the horizon line just feels a little funny. I think you would be better off just standing up and kind of shooting everything as a repeating pattern and not isolating any flowers, and shooting from slightly above. And maybe even fill the frame completely if you can with all of the poppies. I think that would be a really, really cool sort of image. And so this would be if you are gonna really stop down all the way to f22, then you'll get everything in focus. But you have to be far enough away from these flowers so that you don't isolate them and you don't isolate anything. My second approach would be to, if you're gonna isolate these flowers, you need to get in really close. So zoom in as far as you can, open your aperture as wide as you can. And then you can isolate these that won't intersect with the horizon line kind of strangely. You won't get all these distracting elements. And they'll look, it's kind of like when you're photographing a portrait, you will get less distortion and the flowers will look a lot nicer. They'll look way prettier. So try that. So either zoom in, to 135, open up your aperture, and try to not intersect, cut off these with the background, or shoot at f22 from slightly above and try to catch more of a pattern with the flowers. That would be my advice.
Great. Thank you. And thank you, Amit. Very nice. David, empty and lonely?
I like it a lot. I love the softness and the kind of very abstract sort of patterns back here. It's really nice. And I love the black and white. I think it gives it a really nice sort of mood. It really, I'm really mesmerized by the lines and how they play with one another and how you were able to capture that. I think what I might do is sort of try to crop in a little bit and get rid of this pattern, or this dead space right here. And then there's also this right here that's kind of a distractor from this stuff. So what would it look like if you just cropped it, vertically like this, and then just got this kind of stuff, this area right here, which I think is the most interesting. Although, I find this very interesting too. So my only two problems with this image are the dead space right here and then this thing. Other than that, it's really nice. And I think, part of the composition, so this is kind of the main focus of the image. And it's not quite centered and it's not quite off to the side. So that's I think that makes things a little bit not as flattering as it could be, and it makes it not as strong image as it could be. But I don't know, I like that you chose this as a subject to photograph because I love the curves and I love the intersection of all the curves and the lines, and it's nice.
Great. I don't have anything to add. I think I echo what Christina said. Really strong image in a lot of respects. Really nice shallow depth of field. I'd love to know what aperture and focal length you were shooting at. Something pretty wide open and pretty long. Here's one from Miko, Happy Night Cafe. And the first time I glanced at this, my first suggestion was going to be similar to Virginie's, of a longer shutter speed to really smooth out the water. And then I looked closer, and then I looked that it was in Helsinki, and I'm pretty sure this is all ice, frozen. So there's not going to be any smoothing out unless your shutter speed is days and days long until spring comes. I think this is a neat image. I think that it's one of those things where I'm trying to decide exactly what your subject was, and I'm probably going to guess that it's this cool little cafe building right here. And so I would get rid of everything else. This lamp right here is not very exciting, and it's bright, and it's shining a lot of bright light right here in this area and kind of detracting from this cool and neatly lit cafe. We also have this boathouse over here. So you're 18 to 35. At 35, ooh, you're using a very nice Sigma lens. I would stay at 35 and walk forward. Maybe that ice can support you, and get much closer in here and really just capture this area, and you're going to have some cool reflection that you already do in the ice.
But be really careful when walking on the ice.
Be very careful when walking on the ice, either to not fall through or to slip and bust your tailbone. But yeah, pick your subject, isolate it, and this is a really cool location. And I think it's pretty neat that there's some stars up there as well, just a few. But yeah, nice. Christine, anything you want to add?
No.
Okay. Good. Thank you, Miko. From Z Suto, riding through Madrid. I'd like to do that.
Yeah, I'd like to do that too. All right, so I think this is one of those pictures where I'm kind of I'm having a hard time finding the focus of the image. There's not really any clear sort of focus. I'm pretty sure, I mean, what's literally in focus is this moped, this scooter. But then this is kind of off in the background, sort of trying to tell a story about this day. And I think what bothers me the most about this image is just this dead space again. I mean, there's lines, but it still feels kind of like there's no purpose for it. I may have waited until these people were a little bit closer, until there was somebody closer to here, and that may have made for a little bit stronger of an image. I may have stopped down too, just to kind of get the people's expressions, because if this is going to be kind of a photojournalistic street photography type shot, then you should have more in focus than just the motorcycle, in my opinion. I mean, I think this is a really nice shot, but these are things that could make it a little bit stronger. If you're really trying to focus on the motorcycle, then I would just kind of close in on the motorcycle and just photograph that and showcase that. But don't try to do two things, because then it becomes a little distracting.
Yep. I'd say I think the goal here was to kind of capture these motorcycles lined up. And I think it needs to be shifted so that the people in that negative space are completely cut out, and we just have this line of motorcycle butts right going down the street. Or walk 10-15 feet forward and just photograph these straight parked motorcycles straight on. Just get all of them. It's going to be messy, but here is motorcycle after we should say scooter technically. Scooter after scooter after scooter lined up. That would be another way to approach this, I think. But thank you, Z Suto. And now we have Lawrence Biddle's hawk. Not sure if it's a sparrow hawk or a Harris hawk, but either way, you got a lucky shot, what you say. And it's nice. So this was taken with the Sigma 70-300. I think this is a really nice image, composed nicely. The hawk is very near the center, but that works well here. Great light. You can see this kind of rim light. We talked about that with David's car photo. It's a nice way to really separate your subject, and the light is catching the tail of this hawk. And it's a good image. I'm not sure what else you could do to make it stronger. And I do wonder if you've cropped it at all. You could get a little closer cropping, but I really do like the framing of these branches. It seems to be just the right amount below to balance kind of this hawk here. Nice colors in the background. Just a very nice image. Anything to add?
Nope, nothing to add.
Great. Moving on to Old Man on the Corner from Brian.
I like this a lot. I don't know what it is about. Well, no, I know what it is about this image. There's something about portraits that really are just fascinating, especially when I'm going to assume that since you don't know this man's name, that it was a stranger. And just, anybody that can successfully photograph a stranger in an interesting way is kind of a hero in my book, because I am super shy about photographing people that I don't know and asking them to be photographed. So I really love this portrait. It looks like it was taken at night, and I think there's enough that it just captures the scene perfectly. Like, I feel like I'm there. Even though it's black and white, I feel like I know exactly what this place looked like in real life if I was there taking the photo. And I think that's the part that's most intriguing to me about this image. I see some distracting elements, but I'm not even going to talk about them, because I think that this image is more about content than anything else. And I don't think that removing anything or adding anything or moving, shifting in any different way would really add anything. Or, I mean, I'm sure it would, but I just think it's perfect the way it is.
I think it's a nice image. I'm surprised. It feels a little crooked to me.
Yeah, but I don't care, because I just...
Okay.
I think, there's... I know, I contradict myself, but I think that great photographers are able to capture the seen, I mean, so this isn't necessarily, this is like kind of a blanket statement and it's not necessarily true, but in my opinion, I find, this type of photography just to be really, really interesting because, again, it just kind of puts you in that place at that moment and with this person. And I feel like it doesn't, nothing else matters. It doesn't matter that it's a little bit crooked. It doesn't matter that there's like this stuff in the background. It doesn't matter. It's all just there and it's perfect.
Okay. I think I would like to see it straightened.
Okay.
And I also would like the 5D Mark III, lovely camera with a 35 f2.IS. You could go a tiny bit slower shutter speed. His face is just starting to get lost in the shadows. Maybe bring your exposure up just a little bit, or if you're working with Lightroom, try to bring your shadows up just a tiny bit. But really, that's nitpicking. And I think it's a great image. And I think what is appealing about portraits is our brain immediately starts to tell us a story about what's this guy doing here?
Yeah.
Why's he got one shoe off?
Well, he looks like his foot's itchy.
Okay. He's itching his foot. That's why he's got his shoe off. All right. Moving on to a B on its way from Martin. So we got this B. I start, right? This is neat. I mean, here's this bee coming up out of the ground. Really, what I like about this image is this shallow depth of field. You can see your, what do you call it, circle of confusion, the area that is in focus. Here is where it starts. Here is where it ends, right on the other side of the bee, and that's pretty cool. What I don't love is this, we got a lot of this rock right here. We are shooting with the 70D and the 55 to 250. I wondered if you cropped this at all, because I think you could crop in. We wouldn't lose a ton of detail, and it would make it a little bit stronger, getting rid of this kind of space that keeps distracting me. But overall, I think it's a nice image. Anything you want to add?
I don't think so. No, I think you said it all.
Okay, great. Thank you, Martin. And the last one we're going to finish up with tonight, Jack and Coke.
I like this. This is really cool. Could be like a legit advertising image, I think. I might give these guys a little bit more room to breathe on the edges. But honestly, it doesn't feel like it was by accident that, the crop, this particular crop feels like it was on purpose. And I like that it all fills the frame. And I like, the decreasing height in containers. And then, this stuff over here kind of balances it out nicely, so that the texture of the background balances it out nicely.
Confuse people so much because some people are looking at that and thinking, I think there's distracting elements back
Yeah.
there. But I think they're out of focus enough.
Right. So, there's, and I bring them up because they are part of the image, and I want you all to, when you're taking an image, to, even if you disagree with us, that's totally fine. Or even if we disagree with each other, like we disagreed 2 pictures ago.
You mean where you were wrong and I was right?
Okay, you keep telling yourself that. But, so, I talk about it and I say it, and, it works with some images in my opinion, and it doesn't work with others in my opinion. But I want to talk about it because I want you, when you're looking through the viewfinder, to be thinking like this, to be looking at the background, to be looking at all of the elements that are making up this image, even if they're out of focus, even if they're really far away. Look at them, and they all, if they're in the frame, they're going to affect where the eye goes, and you need to place them in such a way that is not distracting. And so I think in this case, while there are some stuff intersecting, I don't think it's enough, it's out of focus enough that it's not super distracting. And it just looks like it's part of the image and that it was a conscious decision and not by accident. And I think it works, with this image in particular. But yeah, so I want you guys to think about every single thing you put in the frame. And that's why, we always talk about horizon, we always talk about composition, we always talk about lines and dead space and intersecting things. Because you guys, to make strong photographs, you have to be very, very, very aware of everything that you're photographing, not just the subject, but all of the elements in the frame.
Nice. I have just two things to add. One is oftentimes when I look at a black and white, my brain tries to add some color in some situations.
Oh,
And
really?
here,
That's interesting.
yep, and here, I feel like this Coke can is orange.
Wow, that is fascinating.
And so I feel like it needs a little bit more contrast. You need to adjust the red filter, bring down the luminance of red, and make that Coke can a little bit darker. But better than that is knock that Coke can out of the way, because what you got here is a story. You got Jack Daniels, you got Coca-Cola. The next thing that should come is a nice glass with some condensation on the outside and some ice cubes in the inside, ready for the first two things.
That's not a bad idea.
Because we got Jack, Coke, Coke. So it's not Jack and Coke and Coke. It should be Jack and Coke, and it's up to you whether or not you pour it in there or not. But that would be my suggestion. Bartholomew.
My takeaway was that I find it fascinating that you perceive that as orange. Like, I perceive it, like, if I have to really think about it, as like purple.
Purple?
Yeah, I know, it's so random, but I didn't think about any other color because I'm so conditioned to know that the Coke can color is red. I was going to say black, but it's red.
Yep. I might have closed one or two, so we're not showing any. But thank you so much to everybody who submitted. I know it's tough putting yourself out there. We try to be nice, but we also try to offer up things that I think will help you all make better images. And all of these images were a lot of fun to talk about and to look at, and I thank you. And yes, Christina gave us all an assignment last episode, part 1, and that is to take some pictures that represent symmetry. Would this be an example of a symmetrical image?
No, it would not be.
I just wondered. And
what does symmetry mean to you?
It means red, black and white. No, I'm just kidding. It means that if you cut it in half, it'll look the same on either side.
Right.
Or top and bottom.
I'm not going to talk about it again because I thought I did a good job of kind of explaining what I meant by the assignment last critique. So if you really want to know, kind of skip through the end and listen to what I said if you want to try this little homework assignment thing.
Well, if you want to have, next week we are going to be focusing on images submitted that you all submitted with a symmetry tag.
Yeah.
And I'll put more information up on here and on Facebook about that and in the comments down below. So thank you all so much for watching. Have a good night.
See ya.
Those of you who paid attention and watched part 1, you said, well, we already critiqued this images. Why is it back on the screen? Well, I just want to briefly talk about this because Jay responded and said the reason why he used 3 graduated neutral density filters was to, graduated neutral density. I wasn't thinking that until just now. I look like a dummy. So you know what? Graduated. So that's why that's why the church isn't in complete darkness. Okay, so we're not going to start with this one.
Oh, I just got that one.
Too, yeah, graduated.
Got it.
Still a lot of noise in there from somewhere.
Yeah, it's weird, and his ISO is pretty low.
Well, the ISO he wrote in, so I'm not sure he was positive.
Oh, okay. It must have been way higher then to get that kind of noise.
Yeah, and it detracts from the picture. I think we'll put this in as at the end, an audio blooper, so people can hear. What?
No.
That is your standard response about bloopers. No. All right, so here we go.